Good day to all of us. I am going to share with you the bad symptoms of clutch system or uh, clutch failure system symptoms. Number one, clutch pedal makes noise when engaging and disengaging. If you can hear a noise when you depress the clutch pedal or release it, or both when the engine is off, it's probably a problem with the clutch release mechanism. Clutch fork. The clutch fork is a hydraulic or mechanical releasing device that helps engage and disengage the clutch. You'll hear noise when the lubricant dries out and the mechanism wears down. A cable squeaking or dunking. Number two, clutch failure symptoms. Clutch pedals chatters. When you accelerate when your clutch pedal is vibrate, that means clutch disc is losing its grip on the flywheel intermittently. Possible causes of vibrating or chattering includes clutch disc lining burned or contaminated with oil, clutch disc glazed, clutch disc hub with worn out splines, warped pressure plate or flywheel, pressure plate diaphragm spring weakened or with broken finger bouncing, pressure plate with hot spot, pilot bearing worn out or damaged, flywheel worn out. Number 3, clutch pedal pulsate. When rotating, wobble or vibrate inside your transmission, you might feel your clutch pedal pulsate. In these cases, warp wheel flywheels may be the problem or a release lever needs adjustment. If the pulsation or vibration began after servicing the transmission housing is improperly aligned with the engine. Number 4, clutch pedal remains stuck to the floor. Clutch pedal that stays on the floor means that you have bending problems with the linkage or releasing. In this case, check that the spring the linkages are not overstretched. They may need adjustment. You may also want to inspect the releasing bearing and check that the pedal stop is in place. Number 5, clutch pedal feels loose or spongy. If your clutch pedal feels loosey or spongy, then check the release bearing or clutch fork for damage. Frequently, we find failure in the pressure plate, diaphragm, spring, mechanical units. If you have hydraulic clutch release mechanism, check for is in the hydraulic system, low fluid in the reservoir, leaking hose or pipe, leaking connection, master cylinder center valve seal fault, master cylinder piston primary seal leak. Number 6, clutch pedal is hard to engage. Every clutch requires some amount of input or force from the drive to fully depress and engage. If you find yourself pressing excessively hard to engage the clutch, then you have a problem with the releasing mechanism. In mechanical application, this is a stacking or bending pedal, linkage, cable, crankshaft, or pivot ball. For hydraulic system, this will be a blockage or worn seals in your hydraulic and mechanical system. Check the cable linkage, clutch fork, pressure plate, and the throwout bearing and see if everything is properly lubricated or worn out. Number 7, transmission makes a grinding, whirling, or chirping noise in neutral. Of all the clutch failure symptoms, you may notice that this is the most difficult to determine. If your car makes grinding, whirling or chipping, but the noise goes away when you depress the clutch pedal. It's possible that the noise is coming from worn out input shaft bearing. It can be unclear whether the issue is caused by a faulty clutch or bad transmission. So be sure to ask your uh, Renault transmission repair shop if you begin experiencing complications. Number 8, grinding occurs when shifting gears. If you hear grinding means shifting gears, that that means the clutch disc remains engaged. The transmission input shaft then keeps spinning even when you fully depress the clutch pedal. Since the input shaft is still spinning, trying to shift gear into reverse or otherwise will cause your transmission to grind. The grinding may point to any number of problems with a pressure plate, throughout bearing or release mechanism on a mechanical release system. On a mechanical release system, the cable may be broken, overstretched, or in need adjustment on a hydraulic system, or the internal cylinder mechanism that needs a replacement. Also examine the clutch pedal assembly. The pedal may have too much pedal assembly. The pedal may have too much free travel and will need adjustment. Number 9, can get transmission into gear. Clutch problem may also prevent you have getting into or out of reverse or third gear. Stuck gear may indicate problems with the linkage adjustment, linkage malfunction, or warp or damaged clutch plate. On a hydraulic system, failure to get into gear may indicate problems with the masters or slave cylinder or both. Usually, this is accompanied by a change in the way the clutch pedals feels, sponsel loose or not catching as before. On a mechanical system, you may be having problems with a clutch disc or pressure plate, release lever, release bearing, shift lever, assembly or control cable. That's all the bad symptoms of clutch system. And now I am going to share with you on how to diagnose the clutch problems. Step 1. Sleeping. Sleeping is the most common problem. Describe the vehicle. Make a note of all the sounds and actions not normal in the clutch operations. Drive in a low gear. Then the speed requires, and if the engine races, the clutch is sleeping. Step 2. Chattering is another common problem. There is a jerking and a grabbing action that occurs when the clutch engages. If chattering is occurring, check the vehicle's components around the clutch first. If nothing is externally causing that, the chattering removal and disassembling of the clutch will be required. Step 3. Worn or seized bearings can cause high pitch whines. If not repaired, these squeals can turn into grinding sound. Step 4. Chirping. Chirping noise are caused by vibration in the clutch actuator mechanism. Step 5. Hard to depress clutch pedals are symptoms of stacking or bending in the linkage, or a blockage or worn seals in the hydraulic system will also make it harder to depress the pedal. If the pedal won't come back up when depressed, the problem might be the linkage, defective slave, or master clutch cylinder. Air in the hydraulic can also cause the lack of action. That's all about the how to diagnose the clutch problems. And now I am going to share with you about the tools preparation that we need in replacing a clutch system. First, replacement clutch. Second, clutch alignment tools. Third, brake and clutch fluid. Fourth, brake and clutch bleeder. 5, various screwdrivers. 6, various size 6 point sockets. Number 7, ratchet. Number 8, breaker bar. And number 9, trolley jack. Number 10, jack stands or ramps. Number 11, wheel shocks. That's all the tools preparation that we need in clutch replacing. And now I am going to share with you uh, the proper procedure on how to repair clutch system. Step 1. Make sure your car is well positioned. Here you need to jack up your car to raise the front part. Make sure you position the car jack well below the oil pan to support the vehicle's engine. Step 2. Prepare transaxle for removal. To get the clutch, you have to remove the transaxle. First unhook the clutch cable in the position into the positive battery to get the transaxle ready for removal. Step 3. Unscrew the engine mount. Remove the bolt that holds engine mount. You will get the transaxle away from the car's engine. In case the transaxle fails to budget when you push it, apply a little more first to fully expose the pressure plate. Step 4. Detach the clutch and repair its flywheel to remove the clutch. Unbolt the pressure plate and slide the clutch this out. If the flywheel has signs of wear, repair it or replace. But before you replace the flywheel, remove any dirt and debris from the crankshaft flank and lubricate it. Step 5. Change the worn out clutch. Once you are done with replacing or repairing the flywheel, you can now fix your new clutch by simply sliding it, and after that, replace your car transaxle. Step 6. Reattach the transaxle. To do this, simply align it with the clutch this spindle hole. You just need to move the car's transaxle until its input shaft glides into the spindle hole of the clutch disc. Once you have completed returning the transaxle to its normal position, place back the bolts you had earlier on removed. And to avoid problems, make sure that you tighten the bolts properly. Step 7. Remove the car jack to lower the car to the ground. Up to the point you are done with your transaxle replacement, it's about time to release the car jack by doing so. You have to resume usually position on the ground. But before releasing the jack, you need to make sure that all the bolts are right in their respective positioning. Step 8. Test your new clutch. Test your new clutch so to know your new on replaced clutch is fully functional, or otherwise you can drive your car free blocks away. Conclusion. It is good to have a fully functional clutch before you car's transmission of power depends on it, and it is true that if you have a fully functional clutch, you will not experience problem when you want to change gear. That's all for the proper procedure of replacing your clutch system. And now I am going to discuss to you the proper maintenance of clutch and of the vehicle. Clutch maintenance is an overlooked part of keeping industrial vehicles in good running order. One of the main ways to keep a clutch in a good condition is to operate the vehicle with its one-start maintenance in mind. Operating your clutch with uh, with care is the best way to ensure that a vehicle with a manual transmission keeps performing at its maximum capacity. So here are the 3 tips to help with uh, reduce maintenance of industrial clutches. Number 1, reduce the heat from internal friction. So one of the most important aspects of clutch maintenance is reducing the amount of heat generated by internal friction. It helps if you avoid situation is that increase internal friction, such as when the clutch is partially engaged, sometimes referred to as riding the clutch, while shifting from one gears to another. Another common situation that leads to high level of heat inside the clutch due to internal friction is when you when you slip the clutch to gain extra forward momentum, usually while towing and heavy loads. The slipping action produces a lot of heat, which in turn will significantly reduce the lifespan of the clutch. An alternative to gaining extra forward momentum by slipping the clutch to simply take it slower by starting in a lower gear. Number 2, bleed air out of the fluid. The heat generated by internal friction inside a clutch can produce uh, small packets of air in the hydraulic fluid, which activates the clutch. These packets of air give clutch action of spongy effects with a clutch action no longer prevails, which has a negative effect. Must simply bleed the air out of the hydraulic fluid. There are a couple of ways to bleed the air out of the fluid with a simplest being an automated bleeding system. If your industrial vehicles are so equipped, the manual way involves accessing the bleed screw on the clutch sleeve na cylinder and opening while someone else presses the pedal to the floor. The combination expels the pedal to the floor. This combination aspect the air so when it has been bleed of all air, you must close the bleed screw before the pedal is released. After a good bleed, you may want to top up the hydraulic fluid. Always keep an eye on the fluid color as well, because one of it's dark or especially cloudy, that then you will want to replace it completely with a fresh fluid, which will immediately improve the clutch performance. Number 3, change bad operational habit. While the pressure plate inside the clutch is the most likely candidate to acquire some damage, beware certain operational habits which can cause damage to the likes of the throwout bearing feature in most industrial clutches. One of the worst habits is keeping a small amount of pressure on clutch pedal when it is not actually being engaged. This usually happens when the driver foot rests on it while the vehicle is stationary or going downhill. Even the small amount of pressure engaged, the clutch mechanism avoid the issue by making it a habit to place your left foot on the floor. when you're not shifting gears. And that's all about the clutch maintenance or the proper clutch maintenance system. Thank you and